What's up everybody and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the new 2025 Infiniti QX60. This one is the Luxe all-wheel drive, finished off in Harbor Gray, has the black package, MSRP is about $63,000. So let's get right into the updated 25 QX60, see what this has to offer. Underneath the hood of the 2025 Infiniti QX60, you are now only going to find one engine option, which is a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. The V6 is gone for this model. This features a 9-speed automatic transmission, all-wheel drive, pumps out 268 horsepower with 286 pound-feet of torque, has a brake-actuated limited-slip differential, and then running on an 18.5-gallon fuel tank, you can expect 22 miles per gallon in the city with 27 out on the highway, and then max towing capacity is around 6,000 pounds. The overall length is 198.2 inches with the wheelbase at 114.2. Width is 78 and height is 69.7 inches. Ground clearance also comes in around 6.7 inches. And now moving on to the exterior styling with the updated 2025 QX60. It's a pretty bold looking luxury focused crossover, especially in this color with all the black accents. Taking a look at the headlights, you got a nice LED design to them, dark housings, pretty nice daytime running lights in the upper portion, and then the entire grille is finished off in that gloss black. You do have an illuminated surround for that Infiniti logo. Then you can see Infiniti written out in the lower portion. There's forward-facing parking sensors along with a safety sensor, a little bit of gloss trim along with some plastic black material down below to provide cooling to that intercooler. Overall, it has a pretty cool look. Of course, it's got that unique Infiniti style to it with that bulging hood. Really complements the grille very nicely. Taking a look at the hood, you can see those curves all throughout it, sharp body line on the side, and then the plastic material in the lower portion of the bumper comes into these front fender arches. You also have a nice gloss black set of 20-inch wheels with a split 5-spoke design, and then more of that plastic material for the entire rocker panel. One sharp body line and then smooth lines all throughout the side. And then we have two-tone for the mirror caps with an LED turn signal and a side view camera. You have some chrome trim on these body color door handles and then chrome trim surrounding all the windows. I like all the gloss black trim you're going to see for the B and C pillar, and then this third piece of glass just floats all the way into the rear. You also have a nice set of black roof rails, sunroof up on top, and then for the entire side profile, has a really nice look. Of course, being a 3-row vehicle, there's some length to it. I like how the roof line seems like it is floating, has a really sleek look from the side. As we make our way around to the rear, you got a nice set of LED taillights with a red and smoked out housing, and then a nice black strip connecting everything. Got blacked out Infiniti badges all throughout the center, along with all-wheel drive and the QX60 badge. And then down below, we get some plastic black material along with some body colored throughout the rear diffuser. The exhaust tips are hidden underneath the bumper, but you have these nice gloss black trim pieces. Taking a look at the new key fob, you have some nice texture, some silver trim, it says Infiniti on the back as well as the top. All your typical buttons as expected. And then going ahead and locking the car, you can just grab the door handle, it'll automatically unlock, and we can take a look at the interior. This one's going to get a black leather interior with some silver accents all throughout it. On the door panel, you have this nice soft touch material, contrast stitching, then the black leather throughout the center. You have more contrast stitching on the padded armrests, all the window mirror controls, lock and unlock, and then some nice silver trim for your release handle. You do have memory seating, 17-speaker Bose audio system, storage down below, and then I like the door sill with the Infiniti name. Something unique with the doors, you can notice how the entire door opens and exposes the inner door sill. That way when the outside of the door is dirty, this inner portion is nice and clean, so you're not going to get the back of your legs dirty when you're driving this in inclement weather. However, the rubber on it, if you have shorts on, might pull on the hairs on your leg just a little bit, but nonetheless that is a cool touch to keep you a little bit cleaner in this vehicle. You have all your power controls on the left side of the seat, and then you can see the smooth leather along with the perforations, all contrast stitching. Really classy, making our way up towards the headrest. Super nice design. And then we have a 3-spoke design for the steering wheel, of course power operations for tilting and telescoping, and then more silver accents with a flat bottom design. And then now inside the 2025 Infiniti QX60, keep my foot on the brake, we can fire it up. You have the comfort access, nice digital readout for the gauge cluster as you can see, and then if you toggle on the steering wheel, you can actually change the meter view and get a little bit larger display, and the center screen will be more prominent with navigation information, some of the 4-wheel drive settings, trip info. For your home screen, you can scroll up and down and then continue over to settings and then a few more items. So pretty nice screen overall, like what you've seen in many of the Nissan and Infiniti vehicles. Got that Infiniti logo right in the center. Those controls over on the left side with some Bluetooth and audio. Cruise control on the right side. You have your forward pacing as well. There are some steering wheel mounted paddle shifters for that 9-speed transmission. And then the stalk on the right is for all the windshield wiper stalks, and the stalk on the left is for all the turn signals as well as headlights. Down below all that, you're going to see the steering wheel icon right here for the intervention. You can see the steering assist will turn on and off. Power tailgate release, one of your air vents, the smooth leather material with some plastic trim up above that. And then you can see along the dashboard there's more of this nice soft touch leather material, kind of a rubber plastic up above, and more of that contrast there. So pretty nice. I like the layered look to the dash. You have some gloss black trim throughout the center, integrated with all these air vents, which is a nice look, and you can see how the door panel kind of blends right into it. Infiniti's infotainment screen is pretty familiar, looks a lot like the other Nissan and Infiniti vehicles, so very similar across the board. You can see phone integration, you also have the information. We have audio controls that will pop up as well. You can exit out of here. You have your map, connections, and settings, and of course this will have the Apple CarPlay, which is very easy to adjust. If we go ahead, pop it into reverse, you have your massive backup camera along with a top-down view. You can see your guidelines on it, and then you can also toggle the camera icon right here. You can see the front camera, you also have that top down, and then you can continue tapping it for a few different views. So pretty nice overall. You have that P button right there to put the car into park. Underneath all that, we have more of this soft touch material, and then a lot of your infotainment settings are right here, along with some track and tuning icons. So right here, you're gonna have your 2 dials for the dual zone temperature. Fan speed is right here. It does have a haptic feedback, which is a nice touch. You have heated and ventilated seating. You can easily toggle all of that. Volume on and off. A few more controls for everything all throughout it. And then down below we have a wireless phone charging pad, 2 cup holders, and then some silver trim all throughout. We have our drive modes as well. You can go down into a snow mode, and then you have a few more, which is a nice touch. Auto start stop feature, park and brake, and then there's a rotary dial with a few different shortcuts to control the screen. So like how you don't always have to use the touch screen, you can easily hit a few buttons and just kind of control everything in the car. Beneath that, you have the soft touch material running into the armrest, extra stitching, a little bit of storage down below, and then the glove box over on the right side has a really large area. One last look at the interior, pretty similar to the outgoing model. Definitely a nice update overall. It feels really nice in here, good use of materials, and this is more of a mid-level trim, and yet we do have the genuine leather, audio, of course that massive panoramic sunroof up above, and then up above we have all those glass controls. You can pop this down for a sunglass holder, thin frameless mirror with garage door buttons underneath it, and then a nice size sun visor. And then moving on to the rear seat space, I can grab the door handle and open it up. You can get a very similar door panel with all this nice soft touch material throughout the door panel. There's even a manual sunshade, storage down below, part of the same speaker system. This is going to give you a 3-person bench row for the middle seat. You can grab this, pull it down. We have a nice armrest and cup holders in here as well. All the same nice stitching to the leather seats. There's storage behind the front seats, and then we're going to see all the climate controls right here. You have your different zones you're able to toggle through, heated seats, fan speed you can easily adjust. So pretty nice setup along with different plugs down below. And then for some buttons, we have this one right here you can press, and that will get the entire 2 center ones out of the way to give you nice access into that 3rd row. They also have their same button to do the exact same thing. And you're also able to just grab the recline lever and pull this down to give you a nice flat load area. So hopping into the 2nd row now with the Infiniti QX60, if I pull this recline lever, I can actually recline the seat a lot. So at 5'11", I mean, I sit here with a ton of space. Of course, you have that awesome panoramic roof. There's also gonna be air vents up above on the ceiling. We have grab handles, you have your lights as well. There is a lot of space here, and at my height, with the driver's seat at my height, I have great footroom and legroom and everything. So honestly, if you're looking for this as your family car, it is super practical back here. Even 3 people would sit really nicely. The floor is perfectly flat, so it definitely helps with legroom. It's a nice place to be. And then moving on to the 3rd row seat. This seat isn't too bad. You know, my Head is barely touching the ceiling, not the worst though. And then on the far side, you can pull this lever and recline them a little bit to give yourself a little bit more room. There are air vents up in the ceiling, which is a great touch. There's extra cup holders. And then on the other side, there is even gonna be a USB port over here. So pretty nice setup overall. The headrest will pop up and down depending on driver visibility needs. And then if I pull this seat back all the way, not too bad. My legs are a little cramped with it all the way reclined, but the fact that I can genuinely sit back here, and if this wasn't as reclined, really wouldn't be the worst. So again, for a practical family vehicle that isn't ginormous, to have a third row, it's pretty roomy. Under the cargo space, there's gonna be a button right over here, and we can pop that and open up the power liftgate. Now with the third row in its up position, you can see the differences in the recline angles, which is pretty nice to see. And then you can pull these to get the headrest out of the way. Now underneath the floor, there is extra storage space. You can lift this open and you have a nice hidden amount of space. Now from here, you can pull these levers and get these seats to fold down out of the way. So from here, you have quite a lot of storage space, as any typical SUV would have, which is a good touch. Now in order to go ahead and fold down that second row, you do have to manually come back in through the side and pull that lever. It is worth mentioning there is a lever up here to slide these forwards and back, but then if I pull this, we can get a good idea of how much space you're gonna get with the second row up, as well as with it all the way down. So overall, the QX60, definitely a practical SUV with lots of space for the family, as well as cargo. All right, so setting off now in the QX60. And right up to speed. So that was in eco mode. Honestly, the turbo engine is pretty nice to drive. If we go into auto, it's a little bit more responsive. You can see that boost gauge. I mean, you can get up to speed really nicely in it. It seems pretty smooth overall for the power delivery. And being a turbo in the normal driving, just your kind of day-to-day when you're not flooring it, you're getting a lot of your power by the time you're at 4,000 RPM. So you don't really need to floor it and redline it every time you want anything. If I just give it a little bit of power right now, you know, we're not even at 4,000 and we accelerated quite a lot. So the turbo engine, I feel like, is a pretty good option. It feels more powerful than the V6. The V6, you got to really ring out to redline to get all the power. This has a little bit more usable torque, I would say. As far as normal driving, as you would expect from the Infiniti, it's a pretty smooth vehicle to drive. The suspension's comfortable. It's quiet in here. You don't really hear any wind noise or road noise or anything like that. Visibility's all really good as well over your right and left shoulders. You have a ton of glass all throughout to make this just a pretty easy daily drivable car. Just a really open interior. Can't really complain about that. Getting back up to some speed in auto mode. Just even a half throttle, I mean, you're up to speed without really stressing the engine. And if you do toggle it into sport mode, it'll of course stay a little bit more aggressive and give you a little bit better power delivery. But from the day-to-day, just driving this like your typical SUV, I think it's a great place to be. You have a wide dashboard and a wider hood, so it does feel, I'd say, a little bit more substantial than it is just because of the shape. It's a little bit larger feeling than a typical SUV that is this size. However, with all the cameras, it is still easy to park and of course easy to see around. Now these seats are ultra comfortable, very padded. I love the way Infiniti does seats, of course. I mean, you just don't get fatigued driving this. We've had 5 of these as press cars where we've gotten to drive them on 1,500 mile road trips. So I've been in these for like 7,000 or 8,000 miles over the last 2 or 3 years, and they are great road trip vehicles. It is just a nice place to be. It's comfortable. You're high enough up to see over traffic. Steering is easily weighted. It's just a nice, effortless drive. Genuinely, for a daily, for a family crossover, this is seriously a great product. I think you just get a lot to offer, and it's definitely just a comfortable ride. Only thing I'm noticing with the power, there is a little bit of torque steer with this all-wheel drive drivetrain. So when you floor it, sometimes the steering wheel just kind of wobbles back and forth just a little bit. Other than that, though, I mean, most people probably aren't flooring it all the time in a car like this. But other than that, though, it does drive smooth. You know, the all-wheel drive is going to give you that confidence you're going to want in inclement weather. Overall handling also feels nice. The steering has a good weight to it. You know, the brakes seem adequate as well. So my honest thoughts now with the new QX60. So just kind of averagely accelerating up to 50 miles an hour. The turbo power is nice. I know there's gonna be a lot of people who are not gonna be a fan of ditching the V6. especially the Nissan and Infiniti guys. They love that reliable old school V6. Times are changing, things are different, and with this engine you're getting more out of it. It's more economical and it's a little bit peppier around town, where it's just kind of nicer to drive. It doesn't feel like you gotta floor it. So it seems like a very well balanced car. I can definitely notice it's a 4-cylinder. Of course I can feel the turbo boost, but it sounds a little bit different. The V6 has a very unique engine tone. Sounds like a V6. So this doesn't quite sound like that, but nonetheless it's a pretty quiet ride. You don't really notice that. What you do notice is just the effortless torque delivery that you're going to get out of it. So I feel like that does make this drive a little bit nicer. It still feels luxurious and refined. And when you look at the Nissan Pathfinder, the Infiniti QX60, both on the same platform, you can definitely tell the Infiniti picks up where the Nissan leaves off. I think all of them are great cars. There's plenty of trims for all the vehicles, and Platinum Pathfinder is a great choice. And then this gets a little bit more plush ride, a little bit more comfortable seats, a little bit more quiet. So it's the next step up. And then of course you can go up to higher trim levels in this vehicle with even more features. So I feel like they've done a good job pricing them. I mean, 63 grand really isn't all that crazy when there are plenty of cars out there that just don't have that many features for this kind of money. There's a lot of the European luxury brands at this price, but they are base models and you're just sacrificing a lot to get a brand name. So the Infiniti name, I think, is kind of that sweet spot to where you're getting a lot of the bells and whistles in more expensive luxury cars. You're also getting a more normal vehicle at the end of the day that any dealership can service. It's not crazy, won't break the bank maintaining. So you get all the livable aspects of a normal brand, all the bells and whistles of an expensive brand, and your pricing's kind of in the middle. So I'm quite fond of these. My wife likes these too. Again, we've had several of them. I think 3 Pathfinders and 2 QX60s to drive to Michigan and back. And they're one of our favorite road trip vehicles. They are so comfortable. You can load up the back with everything. There is so much space in here, and it's just a great highway driving. The newest cruise control system does work pretty good. I feel like a couple years ago, the lane keeping and stuff wasn't my favorite. It kind of swayed left and right quite a lot. It has improved a lot with the newest generation of it. So cruise control for the highway, all that good stuff. You're gonna be able to drive this pretty effortlessly. If we go back to sport mode now, and floor it a little bit. A little power to those front wheels. The transmission does shift a little slow. I wouldn't mind it to be a little quicker, especially in sport mode. But again, this is not a sports car. 99% of buyers will not drive it like I drive. But around the sharp turns, the front wheels will fight traction a little bit. Like I mentioned, with a little bit of torque steer, you can tell this is a front wheel drive biased system. I wouldn't mind it being the other way around where it's a little more rear biased. But then again, the general user of this, the safety for inclement weather, things like that, I mean, this is going to tackle everything and conquer the road very nicely. And if you're going to go off-roading, do any sort of light trail, go camping or something like that, towing a trailer of some sorts, you know, this will probably be a pretty capable vehicle to go on some weekend adventures and trips. I don't really have any major complaints with it. I think it's a pretty solid choice overall. It may not be for everyone. Everyone may not like the 4-cylinder, but overall driving it after experiencing the V6 in plenty of these, I seem to like this better just because the low end torque is quite nice. If you guys enjoyed today's video with the all new 2025 Infiniti QX60, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for plenty more content, and I'll see you all in the next video.